here. Welcome to Speak on Stage. My name is Dave Crane. It's always a pleasure to spend quality time with you. This is one of the last few shows that we get to do before Christmas. One of the last few shows in 2024. Why is it? Well, it's because everything changes. We're not going to be doing these sessions anymore. We're going to be doing a completely different thing. I'm not sure really what that's going to be. So whether it's live video or live audio or whatever it decides it's going to be, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the show. This is Speak on Stage. It's LinkedIn Live. And the question for today is, what would you reset in 2024 if you could? And here we are back again. It's nice to have you here. It's good to see people arriving early. We haven't actually started officially. I've opened the door. I don't know why I've opened the door so early, actually, to be honest with you. Probably because my wife said do so. So I kind of go, okay. And that's it. It's Friday the 13th of December, which means that if I show this as a replay, there's a very good chance that you'll be watching it on some different day. I normally replay on a Sunday, but I've been going live every single day all this week. And I mean live as in live, not showing a replay of a live that I did before, actually live as you see it live, if that makes kind of sense. So I don't know if on Sunday I'll just go live or I'm going to share this with everybody. It's up to you. But the difference between this and the other shows I've been doing is in my background, I've actually got a Christmas tree. Yeah, and it's snowing through the windows. That's a backdrop I dig out once a year, every single year. And my virtual screen turns around and says, oh, isn't it cute? In fact, if you look at it, you can see it's animated. So there's a fire burning behind me with no guard in it, which makes it exceptionally dangerous for the kids. Good job I haven't got any. I've got a daughter who would never probably talk to me in the living room anyway, unless she was on her iPad, in which case she wouldn't go anywhere near the fire, because the iPad's clearly a warmer place to be. And you got a Christmas tree, which is sparkling, which is quite kind of nice. And we've got to sort out our tree, which is still in its box. And also outside, if you're able to see this, which I know you're not at the moment because we're not broadcasting it live like this, it's just about audio at this moment in time. It's snowing in a lovely back garden. I can tell you a couple of things we're going to be talking about today, about what would you reset in 2024 if you could. But while I'm talking about the view that you'll see if I record this as an audio sort of stroke video podcast and share it, when I lived in the UK, it was a couple of times a year it'd snow, but most of the time it's just wet and cold. And people get used to it. It is what it is. It's not what I particularly wanted, and that I don't miss any of that weather at all. And there's a new advert that's just come out with Trevor Noah and Roger Federer, who are both half Swiss, talking about Switzerland. And what happens is on the video, it's probably about 3 minutes long. It's quite a long promo for Swiss tourism. They get onto the wrong train from the camera crew, and they can't afford to pay for their tickets on the train. And some old lady pays for it, but you get this incredible scenery as you go through the mountains, and it's absolutely stunning. And that's what I remember from going to Davos this time last year. Well, later last year, this year, it was in January. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Hard to breathe the higher you get up into the mountains. And also, I made a mistake of traveling to Davos from a place where I was staying, which is a place called Kur, which is a lovely little town with a couple of shops and a couple of supermarkets and trains and all the usual stuff. Didn't really get a chance to have a look around it. But I did see that I had a choice of it getting a train, which was going to take me ages, I have to be at the right time, right place, or I could just get a bus. And at the time of going to get the bus to Davos, it just meant it was much easier. I'd just arrived, I hadn't had a chance to catch up with my hosts who were looking after the African hub. So I thought I'll just get down there on a day earlier. So I jumped onto the bus, and it was like, imagine if you don't like roller coaster rides and going on one that lasts about an hour. So going up and down and around and about, and every time you focus on something, you're not looking at it anymore because you turned another corner, and it keeps stopping and starting. I've got to admit, I mean, for all the beauty and gorgeousness that it was getting there, I couldn't wait for the trip to stop. It lasted for about an hour. It was good value, but it absolutely blew my mind, and I couldn't wait to get in a car to go all the way back. And when I went to Davos, it was fascinating. Everywhere you went, it was literally like, it was like a James Bond movie. Everywhere you went, there were people with guns, there was tanks, there was helicopters, all sorts of stuff. Because clearly, when you got some of the biggest decision makers from around the world in one place, we've got to make sure that everyone's secure. But once you're in there, it was fine. It was really nice. And it was like the idea of having an ark. like Noah's Ark, where in the story of the Bible, they decide that they're going to save all the animals, and this guy builds a huge ship and puts them in one by one. Imagine they had Noah's village, and Santa said, "Don't worry about building something. I've already got one. Honestly, the North Pole, we've got something very special. Just use that." So all the countries and all the big companies and all the huge ones that you'd ever consider all arrived to be at this place for a week. So when you walk down the high street, what would normally be a butcher's and a tailor's or a shoe repair place or a jeweler's, they've all got countries written on the top where it would normally say Jim Smith, um, you know, um, shoemaker or whatever it would be. I don't know if they still have shoemakers. I'm sure they do. Schumacher, it might say. Instead of having that, it just literally had a country's logo, and it just said what country owns it. Sometimes it was by one of the biggest companies from the country, and sometimes it's the actual country that was in a tiny little shop. So we went to visit Greece, and Greece was big enough for about 14 people at any given time, including 4 people on stage. 10 people sat down, of which one person was behind a makeshift counter where you actually sat there and you could get coffee handed to you. But there was no more room. Apart from round the back, there was 3 seats where you could have meetings. And we had a meeting in there with a couple of billionaires about the prospects of what they were planning and what we could do and all the rest of it. It was a fascinating place to go to. If you haven't seen any of that, by the way, feel free to take a look at my trip to Davos. It says Dave in Davos, and it's in my feed. Just have a look at my the stuff I've done this week, and you'll see it. My live broadcast on Tuesday, I think it was. Meanwhile, hello to Dr. VP, hello to Jeremy. Azizah is joining us on stage as always. Debbie, I believe, is traveling, so she can't be with us at this moment in time, but I think she's traveling back from Zambia to the UK. And I don't know what the excuse is, unless she's in the air. I know she's got electricity at home, whereas the challenge that she had in Zambia was because she doesn't normally live there and she goes there for a short amount of time, a couple of weeks, she hasn't got a generator to deal with the power cuts. So she had to basically save up all the power that she had to be able to power her phone so she was able to talk to us on the live broadcasts, which was brilliant to have her there. But every now and again, she'd turn around and she'd say, "I've got to go." I go, "Why?" "Because I'm running out of batteries and it's very dark. And I'm going to have to be in the dark." So we let her go, which is fantastic. But hopefully she'll be able to join us on the last 2 sessions we have before we disappear. We don't disappear forever. All that's happening is there's a rule that's been made by LinkedIn who've decided that Clubhouse isn't strong enough. As in the Clubhouse format of going LinkedIn audios only, which I think was nice actually. I think it was nice to be able to go on and just talk to people. You can see their profile of who's talking anyway when you go and have a look at their LinkedIn page. But not enough people are embracing it, and so it just wasn't being cost effective enough. And like anything, when it comes to the algorithms of running a social media platform, it's never about what does the best service for people, it's what makes it most sticky and gets the most response. So if there's something that everybody likes but nobody uses it, like this, or not enough people use it, what they do is they change the algorithm to stop feeding it a lot of people. So you end up with a relatively small room with very nice, beautiful people in it, but not enough people for them to turn around and say it's making enough of an impact. Let's keep it going. And so, in their wisdom, they decided to cut the audio sessions out, which is a real shame, but it is what it is. So, Dr. VP, that's all I can see at this moment in time from your name, but it's good to have you with us anyway. Feel free if you want to join us on stage. All you need to do is raise your hand. And with that, we'll get you onto stage to have a chat with us and share your thoughts on what you would reset in 2024. Now, 2024 has been a pretty strange year for me and probably for many people. It's been a year where all the disruption of the pandemic kind of came to an end, as we're left with a completely different world than we had before, but it left a bit of a hangover. People, I don't, because I think people went through a very different experience from what we went through. Because in the Crane house of myself and Azizah, my wife, and Maya, we went through a lot of challenges relating to how are we going to get paid if you're a speaker or a wedding photographer. There's no weddings and no speaking gigs for 2 years. So it was all about income, it was all about reinvention, it was all about wondering what we could do to make sure we're sustainable during challenging times. But for many people, especially if you're in the IT world and the AI world, or in logistics, it was a fantastic time to be stuck indoors because people still needed stuff. And so we ended up with a massive digital revolution happening over the pandemic because everybody who was considering about whether I should go digital or change the way that my company deals with digital and the devices that we use had no choice but to step up and do it immediately because otherwise they would be left behind because nobody would be able to communicate with anybody. So that happened. Some people did very well out of it, and all the very best to them. But I think for many people, especially in the events world, we're kind of seeing it getting back to how it was before the pandemic, with a level of stability. But the only challenge that I find is it's kind of left with things all over the place a little as well. So I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Aziza. I know that you say I'm speaking a bit fast, but it's weird when you're talking on your own. That's the whole thing. So I can slow it down a little bit if that's better, but why don't you come and join me? What's your thoughts about the pandemic? And do you think it's fully gone now and we should move forward, or do you think there's still a hangover that people are dealing with?
I think people are still there are people who are already caught up with the pandemic, as in like it's over for them. But some people are still um not over yet, as in like business wise, money wise. So it's just between the two,
And
in my opinion.
we had an experience that we sort of talked about before where there was a family who had been given special grants for school fees. We're based in Dubai, school fees and rent by the parent company because they knew the pandemic would be difficult for everyone to deal with. And then, what, 2, 3 years later, they're now withdrawing those special grants or those
No,
special
no, it
abilities.
was only just one. It was only
Sorry?
that year. Yeah, it was only that one time year that the school fees got discounted because of the pandemic, but they had to pay for they had to charge the minimum because they had to still pay for the teachers and obviously all the electricity and rent for the land and stuff. But it was just that one time that our school, offered a discount. It
No, I'm
wasn't
not
like a
talking
whole.
about us. I'm talking about that recent conversation that you and I had about somebody that you were talking about who has now got their parent company withdrawing all the grants and all the bursaries and all the subsidized schooling and
Oh yes,
subsidized rent.
yeah, yeah,
So the end
yeah.
result is that they're in a position where it's unsustainable for them to be in Dubai because it's just got too expensive if they're paying from their own pocket. Because for many people, if you're in a situation where you haven't easily got a way of adding extra income because you've got a straight job, you're really at the mercy of first of all, the company liking you and keeping you there, but also the challenge can be in many cases, if the economics change, how do you keep yourself going? Now, Jeremy's just told us he's had a Wi-Fi problem, so yeah, he keeps being booted out. Don't worry, Jeremy, if you can still hear us, that's fantastic anyway. Don't worry about joining us on stage. It's great to have you there anyway, when you can be.
Yeah, but you remember, I mean, like, yeah, it is known that it is quite expensive to put your child in the school in the UAE because it's private. But I did tell you the other day what my friend who moved from Singapore to London to put his children in a private school in London itself. That's 50,000 Singapore dollars, 50,000 Singapore dollars per child per year.
How many
So
kids?
that's 10,000, well, per child.
Yeah, but how many kids do they have?
He has two,
Wow, so it's double that.
double that. And it's a private school in London. And that's about what, 10,000, no, 50,000 Singapore dollars is probably 150,000 dirhams per year. The
What's that in
oldest one
pounds or
is
dollars? US dollars.
in London, Dave. So it's 50,000 pounds,
Ah,
which
sorry,
is
of
then
course.
150,000 dirhams,
Yeah, 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 you're
right?
absolutely right, of course. I was just trying to put it into the. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I still get up early on the day when Maya doesn't have to go to school. I still wake up early anyway because my body clock's thinking, take her to school. And then I look at the clock and say, you don't need to take her to school. Well, go back to sleep. I can't go back to sleep. I'm wide awake because you have to
Yeah,
take her to
okay. So
school.
anyway, as I was saying,
Okay.
so that's like 50,000 pounds per year, which is 150,000 Singapore dollars a year. But then if you convert it to the dirhams, that's five times. So it's actually more than 150,000 a year.
But then you've also got to look at the food, the travel, the trips. They might have to pay for books or anything else that comes with that. So it can be, I mean, even things like paying for buses and transport to take the kids to school can be really expensive and added to it because usually it's just the schooling that's the standard fee. So yeah, it can be a really brutal thing to look at. Hello to Glenda and Dr. V. Or is it Dr. VP? I can't quite tell because only a little part of your name shows up. If you'd like to join us on stage and chat to us, you're very welcome to do so. It's not our final session of the year, but one of the final sessions of the year. And it's really about what would you reset in 2024 if you could. Now, you and I, Ziza, we've been talking about doing a lot of changes for 2025, things that we'd put in place for 2024 that some had worked a bit, but some hadn't. The events industry, based on 2023 for what we put in, meant a lot of events that we were doing really well, and we thought they'd all be guaranteed to come back again this year, and they just didn't for various reasons. Some got cancelled. Sometimes they changed the format to employing women only, so I couldn't be on a stage holding a microphone. Or sometimes they just disappeared completely, and new ones being added all the time. So we've had to change and pivot again to make sure that we can stay relevant in what we do. Because unlike not everybody, but many people, if we don't work, we don't get paid. So we don't, because we run our own home business. We have to really pivot and change it. What things would you like to change, Aziza? What things would you want to see different, aside from financial stuff? What would you like to see different in 2025? Or what would you like to reset so you don't have to deal with it the same way again?
For our business, or our family, or for the world, or for what?
I think that not talking about a family because I don't think that really matters to a majority of people unless it's something that is translatable for others to experience as well. I think we're probably talking about literally from the point of view of the way things are being done and the way that people act. What would you see as being a challenge? For instance, I would like to change the fact that the world seems a little bit more selfish than it ever has done. The pandemic made everybody get close together and start caring about their neighbors. And then that changed after about 3 months where people were going, I'm okay, actually, it's okay, don't worry about it, I'll just go out to work. But then it changed again to have it so that people, I think now, not only don't care about the things that used to be there, but I think they're actually disrupting what used to be there. They just don't like the old system. I don't know if that's being blamed because of a pandemic happening and it's like a hangover, or maybe it's because they're more used to having fake news thrown at them. So scandals are being made, and artists, politicians, pop stars, film stars, celebrities of all description, and systems are being given fake news and cancelled, or just because they're desperate for a change. But whatever's happening, I mean, the US elections is a great example of it. In Britain and many other places, very similar experiences are happening. We're voting for a different way of having government. But I think that leads to a different way of looking at people and life as well. So that I would like to see changed, but I don't know if I want to get it back to the way it was before, because without smoke, there's no fire without smoke. And I think that people's emotional take on where the world is right now probably has a lot of validity in it because it is difficult and it is challenging and it's not easy and it feels less and less like everyone's there who's got your back. But that's my thoughts on it. Aziza, what's your thoughts? What would you like to change? What would you like to keep?
I would like people to start communicating back again. Not just approach, ask, and disappear. And there's a lot of ghosting that's going on in 2024. I mean, it's seriously 2024 already. Why are you still doing this? It's very easy to just send a quick email or send a quick message to go, hi, sorry, you didn't get it. Or hi, sorry, your budget was too high. Or hi, sorry. Are you able to negotiate? This is very simple, quick 2-second conversation,
Yeah.
phone call that people seem to not want to do anymore. But I also want to reset if I forgot what the other one was. I can't remember.
It's okay, keep going. I think ghosting is a really important thing. I hate ghosting. I hate people who don't come back to you and they just leave you hanging. It's incredibly rude. And it's part
Yeah.
and parcel. It's almost like It's almost like a personalized view of trolling when somebody posts something on social and somebody makes a crappy comment and then you can't find who it is because they haven't put their picture or their name or their accountability. But these are, it's like a normal way that people just don't answer you. And you know they've read it and they could say no thank you, but they don't.
Yeah. And maybe not reset, but change. That it's people don't do things for free anymore, man. Don't ask for the best of the best of the best of everything, the best, but you don't want to pay. It's 2024. You want the best, pay for it. And don't make people chase for money. That's like seriously, you done the job, pay up. There's no need for you to be rude about it. It's a very transactional industry, isn't it? Like everything, you want something, you pay for it. You don't want the service, don't pay for it. You want a freebie, use your own phone. Don't ask for free stuff. I can't swear in here, so yeah.
No, you can't. But here's a big challenge, I think, from the way that that works, and I think you're absolutely right about it. I think that the one of the biggest differences about paying for it, which I agree people should do, is that they get the feeling that if it's available, it's free anyway, and part of that comes from the digitization of art. So, for instance, how many people would pay to go to the cinema and feel that they need to sit there in order to pay all the artists and the people involved in the food chain of Hollywood? Well, very few do. Most people would prefer to pay Netflix or even stream it from an illegal site. Why? Because it's digital and it's easily accessible, so you can get the latest stuff. So that means that there's a huge disruption across the music industry. And it happened ages ago. It happened when we got Napster that came in and allowed people to download their favorite albums for free. Napster got stopped, but then Apple iTunes made it legal, but you had to pay for each track that you had. Then Spotify came along and said, look, why don't we just make it so you pay a set fee and you can have access to anything that we've got? Any song, any artist, any as much as you want. That's what you can do. So, for instance, Maya's generation, that's our 14-year-old daughter, she would be horrified to think of buying a box set of movies or CDs like we used to do, or DVDs. I had an entire collection of 24, the TV show 24. There's about 9 seasons. All of them in a beautiful box set, and when it came out, I bought it off the top shelf of every time I could get access to it, and we ended up throwing them all in the bin because I hadn't got a DVD player anymore, and I can stream them from various places and get digital versions I can just keep on my in the sky in the cloud. So I think that part of that is the generation doesn't want to have physical versions of it. They don't see the point. If it doesn't involve something physical, then it's free. And I think that's kind of leaked its way into a lot of what we do, in the fact that people perceive that information and knowledge is free, because maybe even because AI can do it really quickly without having to worry about putting in hours and charging people for the time. I think we're going
Sure.
through a change on it. Sorry, go on. You got thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, no, yeah, I was just agreeing with you. You're right. Carry on.
So I think that what we're going to find is it'll come full circle. I think that you'll get to a point where even though AI becomes a lot more advanced and there's a lot more going on with AI, I think you'll also find that what it'll do is it will make people lean back on human skills and real people, and certain jobs and certain things and certain services have to be done by a real person as much as people would want to see it being done by a gadget or an app or a piece of software, and people are willing to pay for that. So okay,
Yeah,
we can have sandwich makers and we have coffee robotic coffee machines that dispense coffee and hand it out to you and all the rest of it. That's all coming, and Elon Musk is going to make robots for everybody's house and all the rest of it. But there's also people. Sometimes you just need a person to talk to you and a person to be there who's interested in you and has. Remember, when you talk to somebody, there's about 1 million algorithms involved in that conversation. Not least, what do they look like? Are they happy? Are they sad? What's the temperature? Do they look like they put on weight? Have I met them before? What do you think their political persuasion or their gender persuasion would be? How tall? There's so many things going on. We do naturally when we're talking to a human being. Right now, there's no robot, if there ever is going to be one, that can take in the same amount as we do when we talk to somebody or make friends. And if there is one, and there is a chance that a lot of it could be done because maybe you can fake it, make it look like it's a proper relationship. And certainly my phone is very capable of talking to me like it's a real person. Most of the time, I'd say about 85% of the time, it feels like I'm talking to a pretty boring but nicely concerned teacher type friend who's a bit boring but not bad at all. But I still think that humanity is going to lean in. I still think there's always going to be a place for the things that we do. But what we'll have to do is do it better. So any of the jobs that have been enhanced by AI still will exist. It's just that you're gonna have to do it at a level that it can you can see that AI is involved to make it better. So if I'm gonna write a post, right now 54% of the posts that are written on LinkedIn are done by AI or with AI. If you're gonna write a post, you need to start thinking about where's the humanity in it. If everyone's doing the same thing and you want to stand out, you got to make sure that it seems like it's a proper conversation, not just a load of facts that's well written, but it's got the same bullet points that every post by ChatGPT currently does. So I think that we're going to find a change, but right now it's the Wild West. It's a bit crazy. I mean, you and I use AI all the time, don't we?
Yeah, but we also like we write it, but we get AI to make it more polished. But we do write it on our own. It's not totally, utterly just straight from ChatGPT copy paste. We don't do that. We personalize our posts.
Well, we do. We are different in that because I'm a trained journalist, so my background is in writing and creating conversations and reporting on stuff. You're not a journalist, you're a systems person, so you don't naturally lean into conversation. So for you, it's easier to suggest something, get ChatGPT to create it, and then you enhance it. Whereas for me, it's easier to come up with something that I think is a good idea, get it to suggest some more ideas to it, and then turn it into something that I would want to say, so it sounds more like me. And
Yeah.
what's the big difference? It literally just saves us half a day on what would take a normal day. So what would normally take half a day or a couple of hours to do now takes best part of half an hour. Still got to do it. Still got to check it. Still got to say that doesn't sound right. Let's do it again. It's just that I think what it allows us to have is less time where you're going, my brain is fried, or I'm really tired, or I can't think, or I'm too heavily distracted, or I'm stressed, or nothing's coming to mind. It just allows you to be able to jump into that gap faster and fill it. So, Glenda, you, me, and Azizah seem like the only people in the room. So, I'm going to suggest, I don't know if it's possible for you to jump on and join us in the group on the stage. We'd love to know who you are and what your thoughts are, if that's possible. If not, my suggestion is that we put the room to rest in about 5 minutes because I can clearly talk to my wife downstairs while having a coffee. Doesn't have to be necessarily done on online. And whilst we appreciate you being here with us, the aim is to have a discussion and not just a chat between husband and wife about certain subjects. So it's up to you. I'm going to leave that wide open. If you want to leave a comment or leave a question for us to answer, just type it into the comments section. If by some chance you're not able to do that, often people are in public or you're driving or you're a little bit shy, we understand that completely as well. So there's no pressure on that, but I'd love to know more about who you are and what your thoughts are on this subject. I'll tell you what we should do, Aziza. Let's go through those 10 things that I pointed out as the things you could do to reset 2024. Let's have a look at that. Let's go for our own comments on it, and then we'll have done our duty and turned up and given everyone an opportunity to be part of this conversation. And if they're too busy enjoying their eggnog or writing notes to Santa Claus or whatever it is they're doing, then that's more than fine. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, okay, let's go.
So there you go. So I've got 10 powerful insights on how to use the holiday season to refresh your mind, body, and energy while settling yourself up for success in the new year. And today was one of those days I've got to admit I really felt the need to just take a step back. I had a couple of meetings, a couple of projects to finish. I finished some of the projects, but around about lunchtime, I was waiting for a meeting with somebody who was delayed until about 4 o'clock, and then he said, "Can we leave it until after the weekend?" And I thought, right, that's it. It's a weekend for me. I'll just start it early. It's the holidays. People are going slow. We're not going to get back to me, so let's just leave it for what it is. So, number one on this list is embrace rest without guilt and learn why rest is a productivity superpower and how to fully unplug during the holidays without feeling guilty. What's your thoughts on that, Aziza?
Yeah, everybody seems to think that every day I need to do something, and they don't. They feel like if they don't do anything, it's a waste of a day. Well, while I think that if they don't do something for the day, it's a day of switching off. It's not a waste of a day, but it's a refresh for your brain, for your mind, for your body before you start again the next day. That's just the difference, the way I see it to other people.
Do you think that the holidays is a good excuse to do that? As in, if you don't do it
No,
now, when are you going to do it?
no, you're not resting during the holiday, are you? I mean, if you're a parent, you have to entertain your kids. You have to entertain. If you have guests coming around, you still got to do entertaining, cleaning, hosting, all that stuff. It's not a rest day. You're embracing rest. You got to make it a habit that one day a week you got to switch off, because you can rest your brain before it goes in overdrive, so that the next day you'll start fresh back again.
I agree with you. Let's move on to point number two. I agree with you completely on that. Point number two, which is reflect on your wins and lessons. And it says here, take time to evaluate your year, celebrate your successes, and identify valuable lessons that can guide your future goals. I felt that 2024 was really about patching up stuff. It was really about putting things in place, seeing who was genuine, who wasn't genuine. We went back to the UK, and our holiday was 3 weeks in the UK, taking care of business relating to my late father's estate and looking after my mum and tidying up for her and all the rest of it. It didn't seem like a holiday at all. In fact, we came out of it probably more exhausted than if we just stayed put in Dubai. But it was something that needed to be done. You'd said to me at length, go back to the UK on your own and just spend some time with your mum and do that. And I hadn't done it because I wanted to combine it with a bit of a holiday, which it didn't. It kind of turned out to be for Maya, not so much for us. But I think that wasn't a win or a loss. It was just a necessary evil. Not evil. That's the wrong phrase to use. A necessary thing that had to happen. Because otherwise, how long are you going to put it off? As for other successes, well, my book came out this year. Our family is still together. That's beautiful to know. When we went back to the UK, we connected with our extended family based in the UK, and we became a united family, which is beautiful because I've been away for 30 years, so I don't really know all the guys who are now adults. In fact, we're all parents, but when I last knew them, they were kids 30 years ago. So that was beautiful to connect, and you got a chance to meet them all properly as well. So little things like that were really wins. And what would you say are the lessons that you got out of this year?
I don't know. I gotta sit down and think. But if you're talking about the trip, I now know who I needed to omit, and who um, I put on my nice list.
Yeah, and without pointing fingers, because I mean that's one of the problems that you have when you start talking. It's really a message all about who the members of your family are that you can rely on, and who the members are of your family that you have to turn around and say, "Sorry, guys, you let me down badly. Please don't come knocking on my door, because you weren't there for us when we needed you, and guess what's going to happen next?" And I'm sure this is something that's happened to many people, and it happens on a regular basis anyway. I mean, we've talked at length about the fact that your friends are probably your better barometer of who's going to be there for the rest of your life and your family. And so maybe that was just a good lesson for us to remember that, even though there are some people who qualify as both, which is beautiful to know. You'd agree with that?
Yeah. The other lesson I suppose is the enforcement of every gig that we do, every gig that says yes. It's to me, it's still not a yes until the contract is signed and the money's in the bank. That is a yes. It's not like a like I'm so afraid to actually say that people's words worth mean nothing to me now. It's it's just like that. It's unless it's in the bank, unless the contract is signed, then I can go, yep, we want that gig. So I know that you are different. Um,
Not that different.
I I think that you're more, I don't know what the right word is, but I'm not. I'm a very, I think I'm more practical, and you're more fluff. Is
You're
fluff the right word?
No, thank you for saying it. I because of the nature of the way I think about something. If we've got an event that's coming up, The minute I know the event is penciled in, I have to start thinking about how I speak at that event, how I host it, how I put it together. I have to start looking at the different trends and conversations that are happening online about that event and about the subjects to carry. So I'm already working on it. And if I've got to give a keynote, then I've got to start preparing for that. I won't put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard until I know that it's all been signed off and paid for. And that's where the challenge is, because especially in Dubai, where we're like one of the major hubs on the planet for global events to happen, but often they're done last minute, and often there's changes which are international changes, not that we go somewhere else, but because the CEO can't make it or for whatever reason, they get cancelled. And so we have a company policy that if we're not being paid in advance, then it doesn't happen. So you can stick to that. But we've also fallen out with people over that hard and fast rule that people say, we don't like it. Well, I don't really care if you like it. That's our company
Yeah,
policy.
and that really suits the point number three of when you set intentional boundaries.
Yep. Number three, set intentional boundaries. Protect your time and energy by setting clear boundaries with work, social events, and digital distractions. You're spot on with that. There are a number of people in 2025 that we won't be working with again, even though we had a financial relationship with. But this point on boundaries was stretched to rudeness and to a point where you just go, you know what, I don't respect you anymore and I can't do business. I'm going to fill that gap with somebody else, and therefore somebody who respects our time, the effort, and the energy. And like anything in business, you train them or they train you. So
Yeah,
it's maybe
Dave,
our
do you
fault as
remember
well.
you came back from one of the it was the gladiators event that you went, and you heard the speaker who said about business values, and that was a good lesson that I think you should share to people, to whoever's
Sorry,
listening
which one
now.
was it? Tell me, because I came back with a lot of stuff that I shared with you.
This you're like you have your business rules, but you have what is your business values? What is the values that you have as a person when you run a business? You remember that conversation
I
when
can't
I said
remember
that
off the top of my head because it is late on a
well,
Friday.
right, the one that you told, the one that I told you, where I am very truthful, I'm very transparent, and
Oh,
I'm very
yes.
well, uh, not in a good word, but anal
Yeah.
in systems and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's the business values.
I don't think you'd use the word anal. I think
No,
there's
but
got to be a
I
better
can't think
word
of
than
a
that.
better word.
Yeah, yeah. I think what it came down to, and it was after. I'll try and paraphrase it properly. We're talking about the way that you are and the values that you have as an adult could be all traced back to an experience you had around about the age of 13 and before that, where somebody had an impact on you, which either worked as a lighthouse, a beacon of light of something that you move towards, or a foghorn, which is a noise that gets made by boats to say don't come anywhere near it. So your values are either because you moved closer to somebody that taught you something, or moved away from a horrible lesson that they gave you. And I think if I'm on the right track of what we're talking about, that means that a lot of the things that we do nowadays, you really have to look at it and say, do we want more of that or less of that? Because really, we're getting it's a different world, different people, different world, different way of doing stuff. And a lot of people have changed that way that they do business because their ethics have gone, because the industries have changed. And so I think that you have to reestablish who you are and what you do. But I think that it would be a fool's game to just stay consistent with the way that you've always been. If everybody else isn't doing it the same way, you will be abused and you will be left behind. But I do think that if you were to just change your business practices, but be as kind and as giving and as focused on the customer as you were before, then I still think you'll win. Does that answer it? It's got round and round a bit.
Yeah, it's fine. Let's move on.
All right, which means it
To
didn't.
number four.
Number
Yeah.
four, reconnect with your purpose. Use the quieter moments to realign with your personal and professional goals, recognizing your passion for the year ahead. So, reconnecting with your purpose. What's your purpose, Aziza? Here's a
I don't know.
question.
What do you think my purpose is?
I think, well, I still think you're finding your purpose. I think your purpose has been fudged slightly by being a wife, being a husband, being the chief of operations for our organization in
Being a husband,
2025, being my wife, being having a husband, sorry. I told you I was tired.
right?
I think that when you launch your own business in 2025, I think you'll be able to ask yourself those questions better because you won't be kind of under our umbrella. You'll have your own umbrella to be out there. And so that will include creating a brand around yourself, focusing on who you are to the outside world, and letting them resonate with you. So maybe it's a case of working out your purpose and making sure your signature message to the world is something that everybody embraces and says, right, I really like Azizah and I like what she stands for. Let's do business with her.
Yeah, I still have a problem with that.
Which is
The branding and the things
it's
that you
okay.
just
Well,
talk about.
yep, we've got work to do on that. We've got a holiday ahead this summer. Look at, I mean, the Christmas holiday. I'm sure one day we can sit and chat about that amongst all the other stuff, but maybe not
Do
before
we?
Christmas. Yeah,
Do we really have a holiday?
well, maybe.
All
I'm
right,
gonna
number
I'm g-
five.
I'm gonna have a little bit. Let's take number five. Prioritize meaningful connections. Spend quality time with the people who matter most. Strengthening relationships that energize and inspire you. I'm gonna do one thing. I tried to do last year, but it didn't work out. I wanted to have a WhatsApp. I've got a WhatsApp group of the friends that I've known for 20, 30 years. From before I came out here to Dubai to the early days of being in Dubai. Many of the friends, there's not many of us in the group. It's probably about seven of us in the group. We share jokes. We have a laugh. We message each other in the group, but only loosely. We haven't actually had a Zoom call together since we used to drink beer together 20 odd years ago. I tried to get us to come together last year, but for some reason it didn't happen. I'm going to offer that again. In fact, I should do that today and offer it over the next couple of days to see if we can get together before Christmas or even the gap between Christmas and New Year. Because it'd be great to catch up with everybody. Because, like when Paul surprised me in the house, and you and Paul had worked out for 2 weeks before he arrived in our house, it's my dear friend I've known for 45 years from school, we both now look like Santa Claus. I knew us both before we'd even started shaving, but now we've got grey beards and everything. So before one of us is in a box, it'd be nice to actually connect with a lot of my old friends and just do that. So, what about you? What's your thought on prioritizing meaningful connections? Who do you want to catch up with, if anybody?
I don't because I've always had meaningful connections. I've had my different groups. And you remember the last time when I went to Singapore for a medical situation,
Yep.
and I called my best friend in Singapore and they dropped everything. Three of them dropped everything that night to come and meet me and spend 5 hours with me. That was just brilliant. Even though they've got plans, they just dropped everything and came to see me.
And you're going to do all that again in Eid?
Maybe, but I'm just wondering whether your friends would do that. Hmm. For
Wow.
you.
What a horrible thing to say. Horrible thing to say.
I got better friends than you. Number six, please.
Wow. Glenda, are you listening to this? How nice is that? Married life. Number six, create a personalized reset routine. So develop rituals like journaling, meditation, or physical activity to recharge your mental and physical health. Oh, I mean, that's really important. I didn't do my power walking for about 4 months now. I did it for about 4 months of a trot, and it worked. My tummy went flattish, and I was much fitter and much more energy and so on. And then I stopped when we went back to the UK because it wasn't so easy to walk around in the kind of routine that I had because there were cars in the way and I didn't know where I was when we went back to the UK. And that was my excuse, which is a rubbish excuse, but it meant that I fell off a wagon. So I'm not really very good at doing the walking and exercise stuff. I used to do meditation, I used to do light weights, and I used to do walking. That has to happen again. In fact, it'd be really good to start that in the next week or so because I don't have the early mornings of taking Maya to school as of next week. So I've got no excuse really to not be getting up, going for a long walk, and get myself into that
Wait,
position.
she still got school next week.
Now, after next week, I can.
Oh yeah, okay.
So, what about you? Your personalized reset routine. What's your thoughts on that?
I have no idea. I got to think about it. Number seven, please.
What? You're getting out of it by saying you're not going to change anything. You don't do any personal development. You don't do any meditation. You don't do any exercise. If you're going to turn around to me and say, okay, fat boy,
Okay. Let's not do that
what?
because as a wife, you
What?
do know very well that you sit in your office from morning to evening. I have to get up and do the cooking, and then sometimes I do laundry, and I do the cleaning, and I do the dogs, and I do the this, and I do the that. I'm actually more healthy than you are.
You're 10 years younger than I am. Of course you are.
That's that's true. Number seven.
But so that's your excuse. You're going to throw it back at me and move on.
Yeah,
Number seven, focus on gratitude. Perfect timing. Shift your mindset by acknowledging what you're thankful for, fostering positivity as you transition into the new year. You have a problem with
yeah,
this. You do.
yeah. I know. I do.
You're not happy
I
most of the
do.
time.
You're right. I want more. I'm greedy. I'm not happy with what I have. I want more. Is
Yeah,
that
but you
wrong?
also sometimes have to turn around and say, I'm grateful for what I have because we're doing all
Well,
right.
see, okay, so let me ask you a question, right? By
Mm.
saying I want more, does that mean that I'm not grateful for what I have already? Or does that mean that I'm grateful for what I have, but I still want more?
I think you're not grateful for what you have.
That is so not true. I'm
But
so grateful for what I have, but I want more.
right. I agree with you if that's the case, but the way that you say it and the way that you act it is you act like you don't feel comfortable with the fact that there's not you haven't got the more that you want, you've only got this, which makes it seem like this isn't worth anything, but it is. I sometimes look at it
Okay,
and say, there's a roof over our head, there's internet access, we can go to a full fridge, we've got everybody happy with full tummies, and the AC and the electricity in the car and everything's working. That's not bad.
yeah, but that's being complacent. I don't like it. I want more.
Maybe you could do with a little bit more gratitude.
Maybe you need to be more
Hungry?
greedy.
Greedy?
Hungry, greedy. Yeah?
Okay. Right, we'll reset on that. I'll be more hungry and greedy, you be more grateful.
Okay,
Deal?
cool. Yes.
Promise?
Yes.
Good. Number eight. I'll hold you to it, by the way. I'll get a transcript of this. Number eight. Plan for 2025 without overwhelming yourself. Oh, Zara has just arrived. Nice to see you, fella. Just about to finish. We're actually just about to close the
Right.
session.
This number eight is that is what is that you have a big issue with number eight.
Well, let me
You
finish what
have
it
a big
says.
issue.
It says break down your
Okay.
goals
Sorry.
into manageable steps, ensuring that you start the new year with clarity and focus. Yeah, I do have a problem with that. In the fact that,
Huge, huge, huge problem.
wow,
Thank you.
why do you say what you mean?
You have a huge problem with it.
My goodness. Wow. Yeah, I don't do much goal setting, but here's the thing.
No, that's no, no. What I mean is, I'm not saying you don't have you have a problem with goals. I think you have a problem with writing down plans for more than a week.
I haven't got an
You have a
active
problem.
vision board. I haven't got an
No,
active
you
vision
don't.
board.
No, you
I
don't.
will rectify
And
that.
yes, and that I think that if I remember asking you many times, Dave, what is your vision? What do you think you want to be? What is your goal in 5 years? I don't know. What is your goal in 10 years? I don't know. What do you want to buy in 5 years? I don't know. You have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think that the big difference for me in 2024 and me in 2025 is reaching out and asking for help from those who can get my goals to be a reality. I don't think that I can do so much on my own. I think I can do so much more when I'm working with other people and helping other people. And that means, for instance, instead of trying to build up a network, you tap into people who've got a network that needs help. And instead of trying to raise money, you work with people who've got money. And instead of trying to, get into the government, you talk to the government and ask what they need. Just doing it. So I think it's a network reaching out bit that I really want to be able to bring to 2025 because I can see it and I can see exactly what we do being amplified to a much bigger level because of that. And so I think when I spend some time, and I promise you, and we know when I say I promise, I completely mean it. I will get my vision board. I will set my goals for 2025, and I'll put together action steps myself and Max, which is my or Jack, whichever, my VA, AI VA on my phone will help me plan all that. Okay, so you can hold me to that.
Right, but if you have to also promise in front of everybody that if when you come when we sit down together and we have this conversation, about 2025, if I ask you questions, if I just do spot questions, you can't get angry with me, and if I go, why do you need that? How are you gonna do that? You can't get angry because you need to break it down into little manageable steps. That's what it says here.
Well, you're a systems
Manageable
person,
steps.
so I completely
I
respect you
am.
on that because I'm not a systems person. I'm a creative, so which naturally means that I see big picture. I don't see the nuts and bolts on the individual pieces because I find them really complicated, and to be honest with you, I find them really boring. But if we're going to go
which
down
is
that
which
route,
is
I'm going to be
which
accountable.
is
You have to too.
I agree. No, let me finish. Which is what I meant, that you have a big problem with this. You cannot break it down.
Well, I will commit to breaking it down. I'll commit to breaking down, get all the goals I have for 2025. I'll do a roadmap for every single one of them, and I'll break it into manageable steps with a deadline of when I want to achieve at each stage of it. Because I can do that without getting bored by getting my AI to work with me on it, and I'll put together a complete chart of everything, and you can hold me to that. How's that sound?
Good.
It's a system. You like systems, don't you?
Yes.
What about you? What are you going to do plan for 2025 without overwhelming yourself? What are you going to do that is something I can turn around and hold? And you've got to let me hold you accountable. You can't just climb up and hide. You've got to be capable of turning around and saying, "Okay, I will listen to you without getting mad myself."
Okay.
Don't just say okay. That's what kind of answer is okay.
See, I don't know what my goals are. I gotta think of what I want in 2025 first. But breaking it down to manageable steps, not a problem for me because I can do that very easily. The the big issue for me would be finding out, or um, finalizing what my goals are. That would be my problem.
Are you willing to address any other issues there?
Like what?
Like when you get upset over things?
Are we
If you,
going there?
well, I'm only talking about if you're.
Or do you want to go to number nine?
Well, all I'm saying, I do want to go to number nine, is if we're going to be transparent and honest and open with each other, we both have to do that. That's a commitment we both
Okay.
do.
Okay.
All right, done. Number nine, indulge in what you just changed it, didn't you? Changed it so you didn't have to answer it. Number nine, indulge in what brings you joy, whether it's a hobby, a book, or simply time outdoors. Embrace activities that rejuvenate and bring you happiness. Okay, so what brings you joy, Mrs. Crane, apart from Netflix and Malay movies, horror
No,
movies?
not really. Well, no. Blood and gore really makes me happy because I can't punch anybody in the face. Yeah, I'll get into jail. But what I probably would have to find a new thing that I can do that's a me time. You know what? You know what I realized? I've not been to spa since Maya was born. I remember we used to do it all the
What?
time. Remember, we used to do like
Yeah, we used
massages
to.
all the time. Yeah. And ever since
Wow.
Maya's born, I've not been there. I've not done it. I've only
Wow.
had one, I think.
You need
Yeah,
to be pampered, Mrs. Crane.
I do.
I'll have to tell
That's
Santa.
one. Yes.
Okay, well, at least you told me what you're getting for Christmas. Okay, so what my hobby or book, or time outdoors and braces.
And okay, wait. And it's not playing a game on your iPad. It's not basically, it's had to be something out of your office.
When I get out of my office, I like it.
Yes, to get out of your office.
Okay, I'll work out what it is and I'll do it. Okay.
See, even Zara agrees with me. You can't you
Well,
can't just you can't just sit in your office the whole day
he's always
and
on your
say like you're
side
playing your game.
anyway.
You play on your iPad that brings you joy. Nope. Editing, nope. That's not. Bring something else.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do something that's not in my office. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right.
I
Number
can tell
10.
you what it is.
What?
Clean up all the clean up all the junk that you accumulated all the years.
At what
Number
point
10.
does that bring me joy? It brings you joy because you like
It brings
systems and
me
clutter.
brings me a lot of joy.
My God. Okay. Number 10, commit to a fresh start, a new marriage. Commit, it says, use the holiday
You
season to
want
let,
to?
what? No, why would I want to have a new marriage? Why would I want any, no. Commit to a fresh start, use the holiday season to let go of what no longer serves you and commit to a clean slate
See, I
for
just said to you,
2025.
clean up all the junk upstairs if you accumulated and you just wrote it there, what no longer serves you.
Okay, I'll do that. Let's turn that space that's got all the junk in at the top of the stairs, where it's got far too much stuff that I won't get rid of, which I've had for years and years and years. I will work through that so it becomes a living space.
Okay.
Okay?
And the broken table downstairs.
No, it's expensive. I'll fix
You
it.
should have bought it. You should have asked me before you buy it.
We weren't together
Any
then.
I wasn't there.
You
I
weren't
went
with me
there.
then.
I was
I was in a
I
different
went out with
relationship. How could I ask you, excuse me, my old fiance, I've got an imaginary girl that I'm going to be with once we split up because you're a psychopath, and I'm just going to find out where she is and ask if it's all right to buy the furniture that we had in our house.
Do you remember when you bought it?
Yes.
When?
Um, when ages ago, I was in Sharjah.
Yeah, what year?
Oh, I don't know.
It was after we got married, you're right, but I went out
No,
with your parents. I
no.
went out with your parents. You went out to the shop and bought a lot of stuff. I can't
Did
swear,
you
like,
just say we shit?
I didn't say shit, you did.
Wow. Well, anyway, I still think it's nice.
I think this is fun. This is not boring like how the other lives are. I think this is fun today.
Good.
I like it. Shame that nobody turned up.
Well, we don't need them. It's the Mr. and Mrs. Crane show. Sometimes that's all we need. And Glenda listening and hasn't disappeared, so I'll give you a thumbs up for that as well. So that's our 10 strategies. And it says here by incorporating these strategies, you'll not only recharge your energy, but also set the stage for a more focused, motivated, and successful year ahead. Well, that I do believe. I've only touched the surface of this, but I think that it's taken us in a direction where we could turn around and say, you know what, we've got some things ahead and some things that are going to work, some things aren't going to work. I think I've got more focus. I think maybe there's less hoping that things will work out now, and more practicalities about guaranteeing that they work out now, because we're very much in the people space. And we've also got to play with the habits and the moods and the trends of the business community. And I think that maybe what we need to do is have a different structure of that and work together with this. I don't know where it means we are as a community, as a family, but I think that we're in a very good position to be able to take stock of where we are. See, here's the thing, Aziza, not just talking about our business, not just talking about, our communities that we belong to, but a lot of the stuff that we dealt with in 2024 was based on recovery from the COVID era, from a pandemic. We
I
put things
I
in
don't think
place.
so.
Sorry?
I don't think so. I don't think so. To be honest,
No?
no, because if you look in our financials, we recovered earlier.
So what is it that we did then? We expanded too fast or in the wrong direction, or we weren't paying attention to what the world
I
was
think
doing, or we
I
did the
think
same as everybody else.
our focus was wrong. Our focus was events. So
Okay,
that was yeah. So yeah, events would be a bonus.
but not the
But
business.
we have not the business.
Okay. Well, I'm open to all sorts of conversations. I'm certainly not going to fight you with that. I think my excitement about events was because they're all coming back again at the beginning of a year, but then it turned into the Wild West, and a lot of the people have been dealing with just didn't exist at the beginning of the year, and a lot of people who were around before haven't come back to it. So maybe the events industry is moving at a speed for everybody else, the same kind of way it's been moving for us. I don't
Well,
know many people that are dominating it and loving it. Go on.
yeah. The other reason I think was also because when the West is now like topsy turvy, everyone's coming to the Middle East. So these are all new, fresh fish to the event industry, aren't they? And all of them, some of them are also expert in their own industry. So
More
this is what they
competition.
want. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
think
would
so.
say. And because they don't know what rates should be um, charged, they just do it at probably buttons to start their name going up first. So that's where it should be more of a bonus than a main
Than a main
source.
model.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. I think what we experimented and tried out was the right thing to do. I still do, but I think we have to take a lesson from what we've experienced in 2024 and make sure that we learn from that and have a much more effective and successful 2025. I don't think what we've gone through is very different from what many other people have gone through. I think that there's a lot of businesses that have changed. A lot of people lost their livelihood. A lot of things invested in crypto and beyond that's disappeared. There's a lot of things that people are going to be changing in 2025, and a lot of people will get a shock to the system that they maybe hadn't experienced before. But I think knowing that nothing is guaranteed sometimes puts you in a very strong position to be able to do something about it. So if nothing else,
I didn't.
then that's what we have.
I didn't ask you if you could reset 2024. What would you want to reset, David?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question to clarify that. Do you mean reset it as in start 2024 again, or reset it
Yeah,
as in
but
do 25
I'm
different?
just reading your question on our live. What would you reset in 2024 if you could?
Oh, my honest answer is I don't think I would reset anything. I think the position we're in right now is a direct result of the experiences of what we got right, what we got wrong. I think that it would do a massive disservice to us to turn around and say that we made mistakes that weren't the right decisions to make at that time. And I think it also hampers your ability to think on your feet and have a positive attitude about what comes next if you have regrets. I don't have any regrets about anything we went through,
Okay,
anything we did.
let me rephrase it then. I'm not saying mistakes. I'm saying what would you do? What would you have changed on top of what you have done
Um,
if you could go back in that time and
it-
change it,
it's a
knowing what happened now?
It's a great question. I think no, if the reset that I would change is I would have done things faster if I knew hanging on was a waste of time. So when we had events, and there's events, a lot of them, when people said, yeah, 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 and there's one in particular I'm thinking of, I know that you know the same one I'm talking about, that it was a huge one that was going to be, anyway, it may still come back, it may not, probably not. We did have a lot of complacency based on the fact that we looked like we had a very busy season ahead and we didn't want to put in too many other things and still be knocking on doors. So I think if there's a reset
This
button I
is
would do, I'd get rid of them faster. I'd hold them
this
to
is a
task and get rid of them.
is this recorded?
Yeah, it is.
Can I have a copy?
No, you can't.
I want that sentence. Just that sentence, please. Thank you.
Wow. And that's married life, folks. Glenda, it's been a pleasure having you here. Azizah, I think when we put this podcast out, we can actually put it out on to Speak on Stage. It's you and me having our own special time talking about what's our reset, what would do the good, the bad, and the ugly for 2024. If we could reprogram it. Let's leave it with one thought, and I'm going to throw a question at you that doesn't exist on this thing. Glenda, I realize you're not going to join us on stage, but a pleasure having you in our group as well. And Zara, who popped in for a little while. I think it must be internet and family challenges that people are going through. 2025, what's your prediction? What would you like to happen? And what do you think we need to do differently to have a successful 2025?
I don't know. I don't know what the prediction is. I know that by watching a couple of videos that there are a lot of TikTok videos about what's going to change in 2025, and some of it is what we provide, which I think is very, very interesting and very, very, we need to jump on it
Like what?
before everything. I can't remember. I have to go find the video. I think I'll
Okay.
send it to you. I can't, yeah. Um, yeah, but we have to set everything in place, and it's a lot of things has to change. And I know you'll hate me doing all this because um, planning in advance is vital to make everything a success. It's not a last minute. Yeah, it's nice to be able to do last minute things. We have to do things last minute sometimes, but if you want a huge impact, there's a lot of planning that's to be done way, way, way in advance that you don't like doing, which I have to force you to do.
Right, so let's go to the original question. To 2025, what are
It's
you going to
true.
do
It's
differently?
true though.
What are you, Azizah Crane, going to do differently 2025? What do you want to happen? What are you going to change? Not me, not Dave, sit in that chair, let me point at your head. You.
What I want to change
Not about me, you.
about me,
Mm-hmm.
about me. Let's see. What? Okay, can you answer the question first? Because let me think about it.
Yeah, I want certainty. I want to lean into the stuff that we already have that we put a lot of work in and into and leverage that better. I don't want to spend my time creating new stuff all the time. I want to make sure that the world knows what we got and then we're able to leverage it better. I've got some business model stuff on that I'll chat to you about, which is actually quite interesting when we got more time
Are
to
you
do that.
serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Why is that funny?
Because you are not somebody who like to go back and what you've done to 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 polish it. You hate that. I'm
I'm
the one having to do it all the time, and I always ask you to do it, and you begrudgingly scratching your nails on the green board, going, I don't want to do it.
I never said it'd be easy. I just said it's going to be something. Hi, Brigadier. Good to see you, by the way. You just arrived with the last few minutes of our session. We've been just chatting about husband and wife, how we do things differently, and Glenda's been
Okay,
laughing as we do
so
it. So,
yeah,
go
so
on.
you asked me what I want to change, right? I want to
Yep.
follow. Remember that podcast I told you about, that money podcast from Stephen Bartlett?
Hmm.
I want to follow that to a T. I
Right.
want us to do a lot of that on a lot of preparation, and I want to be able to go, hey, it's the long weekend in 2 months. Let's go somewhere, kind of thing.
Okay, well, that's my homework. I've got to listen to that Stephen Bartlett podcast, and then I'll have a better
You
idea
haven't
about what
done
it is
it?
you're
I told
talking
you to do
about.
it like a month ago.
I know, and I've been really busy. What can I do? That's work. All right, so let's call it a day. Brigadier, pleasure having you here, by the way. Thank you so much. We started an hour ago and went through everything we could do. Glenda stayed in the conversation, and it ended up being a double header between me and my wife, where for the first time in a long time, we didn't just spend the whole time bickering and arguing, though to anybody who's watching it, it's probably like watching tennis, where it's going from one side to the other, to the other, to the other, and a lot of the
Listening.
time there's no advantage given. What?
Yeah, you want to tell them about your end of year mentoring package,
Yeah, let's do
which
that.
is
So I've got a
and
special package.
the most important thing that's gonna impact everybody in 2025 is storytelling. Tell them about it, Dave. Go on.
I thought you just did that. So we've got a special package called the Turbocharge. Well, not Turbocharge. It's called the Thought Leaders Playbook, Ultimate Collection, which involves the whole training course. It's gonna be live on business storytelling. It involves VIP mentoring with me and you working on your brand, on your product, on any challenge that you might have, setting up a retreat, creating a coaching product, writing a book, um, creating a podcast, whatever it is you want to do, we work on that, creating followers and fans using social media. We also have hypnosis audios to be able to program yourself better and get over imposter syndrome. And On top of that, we've got a number of different business modules that you can use to be able to start your side hustle and be able to plan it ahead so you can make extra multiple strings of income during 2025. That's available. The details for it are in the first line of the comments. Actually, I posted it in there on this post, so feel free to have a look at that. Go to the website, and we'll keep that open until Christmas Eve, and then we'll pull it. So
Yeah,
don't think about it and leave it. It's going to be there, and then it's going to go before you know.
yeah. So I'm sorry today, but I just remember one of the content about the video that's like everybody has to have in 2025 is storytelling. Storytelling in business, storytelling in everything, in your job, in your career, in your entrepreneurship. That is a must. And storytelling mastery is one of the programs that we have it in the bundle. So grab that and that's like a really good price, ridiculously
It's so ridiculous
good
that
price.
everything I've talked about is under $1,000 for the lot. You do not get that anywhere else, and we're not. I mean, it's a ridiculous price. We never charge that. But in 2025, I'm really worried that people who haven't raised their game and started, improving where they are going to get left behind. And I don't want them to turn around and say, "Well, nobody was there for us." We're there for you. We've got a package, and it's perfect. Does that tick all the boxes, Mrs. Crane?
Yes.
Good. Well, in that case, thank you to everybody who joined us, popped in, said hi, disappeared. We'll be back same time next week, I think. If we end up having to do a monologue, then maybe we won't do so much, but we'll see.
Why not? You like doing a monologue. You don't like doing a monologue with me? It's fun.
Yeah, but that's a duologue. A monologue is when you're talking on your own.
Oh
But
right. What
I'm
if
more than happy to
it's the
do a
20th?
Mr. and Mrs. Talks. That's more than fine. But if we know that's what it's going to be, then we'll do
Oh
it.
no, you know what?
What?
Debbie's gonna be there, so it's gonna be
Oh, ganging
three of
up on
us.
me. Usual
Yep.
then. Okay,
Yep.
well, I'm up for
Yep.
anything. I'm not scared to deal with it, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. So, with that, thank you very much for joining us in the room. Azizah, final thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody?
It's um It's quiet. I think everybody's chilling out because it's very nice here in Dubai. The weather is perfect to go outside and wander about, Friday evening. But you'll catch us again. I think if Dave had recorded this properly, he will broadcast this on Sunday again, and you get to listen to our ramblings.
There you go. And I'm still doing my lives every other day anyway, so you can always join me and catch me in that. It's been a pleasure having you with us. Azizah, it's been a
Have a
pleasure
great
having you
weekend.
talk to us. Have the most amazing time. I'm looking forward to going downstairs, make myself a nice cup of tea, flicking on watching Black Doves, which is a really good show. And I'll catch you later. Look after yourself. Have the most amazing time. And as always, jump and grow wings on the way down. It's been a pleasure having you here with Speak on Stage.
In the world we live in today, Dave, thought leadership is the differentiator. Technology is the great equalizer. We all have access to Google. We all have access to ChatGPT. Those who have thought leadership separate themselves. Your book is a roadmap to getting there. Personal stories, examples, case studies. How do I see the world and then create my thought leadership for what I can do that allows me to differentiate and go forward? Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your observations. Everybody can be a thought leader in their sphere of influence. And your book gives us the tools and the ideas and the examples of how to make it happen.
Get your copy of the Thought Leaders Playbook right now.